So, modern romantic relationships are working out really, really well. And by really, really well, I of course mean apocalyptically, civilization-destroyingly badly. Now, in order to say a little bit more about this, let's check on the world's bastion of clear and sound thought, namely TikTok.
Your life is bigger than one relationship.
We had a long conversation a couple days ago, my husband and I, and the best thing for both of us is for this to end.
And what age should you consider getting married? 35 years old, had slept with at least 50 women, 100K per year, you're in shape, and you got 6 months to 1 year of savings.
Like yourself so that you know what you deserve and you don't settle for less. Come join Divorcing Empowered.
This boy stopped keeping track of his body count once it hit 100.
Now, the internet is full of these kind of videos. You have lots of stories, lots of advice, lots of interviews, all promoting modern, secular ideas on dating and relationships. However, if we look at the data on how this advice actually works, well, it doesn't look so good. As I'm sure you're aware, divorce rates are through the roof, broken homes are increasingly common, there's an epidemic of children being raised without fathers. If we look at our celebrities in Hollywood, if two of them get married and you were to buy them a lovely, cute, fluffy bunny as a wedding present, the reality is that that bunny would almost certainly last longer than the marriage itself. That's not a joke, by the way, that is in fact true. Now, it's not like this has always been the case. This is a relatively modern phenomenon. If you look at the majority of Western history, when people said "till death do us part," they meant "till death do us part" and not "till death do us part" or "until I get bored," whichever comes first.
I'm so bored.
So, could it be that there is a cause to this level of relational breakdown in our society? That's a rhetorical question. The answer is yes, and I'm going to give it to you. I read a bunch of studies on what makes for healthy and happy marriages, and one of the terms that I kept seeing cropping up in one form or another was that what actually made for a happy marriage, quote unquote, flies in the face of conventional wisdom. Imagine you're a young, fresh-faced 20-something, and you've grown up in a fairly normal but non-religious household. What have you been told throughout your life? Well, you've probably been instructed by more responsible adults that relationships and sex are at the very least serious, although not much more than that. But at the same time, you've been instructed by, I don't know, every movie and every song ever that you can get jiggy with anything in the world, animal, vegetable, or mineral, and so long as you're having a good time, it's no problem.
Want to get jiggy with us.
And so the general worldview that people have as they enter adulthood is that a casual relationship is great. You should go out there, have some experience, sow your wild oats, so to speak. I don't know what porridge has to do with sex, but there we go. And you know, you should find out what you like before one day you eventually find a serious relationship, at which point you move in together, and a few years later you propose and get married sometime around your mid-30s. Not making this up, this is common practice. This is what most people do in relationships. As well as this, we're also given the idea that things like porn are fine to watch. If you need some extra cash, you can of course jump on OnlyFans and raise it there. And of course, the most important thing is that no behaviour, so long as it's consensual, should be judged. Alongside this, we're also told that conservative Christian ideas when it comes to relationships and dating are oppressive, that they lead to things like rape culture, spousal abuse, probably climate change somehow, I don't know, but everything seems to cause climate change apparently.
How dare you!
And so there you have it, the conventional wisdom of our day. However, there's a little bit of a problem with this. It's a bit awkward, come closer. It turns out that the data tells us the exact opposite. Let's start with the behaviour that goes on before marriage. See, it turns out that those who have the happiest and longest lasting marriages are those who get married as virgins. Women who have only ever had one sexual partner in their lives, namely their husband, are about 5 percentage points happier than those who have had 2. And broadly speaking, the numbers get worse the more partners you have. I know that's so uncool and everything, but the reality is that a long and happy marriage is way cooler than a bunch of divorces.
Not cool.
As researcher Brad Wilcox said, contrary to conventional wisdom, there's that word again, when it comes to sex, less experience is better, at least for the marriage. Unfortunately, these days only 5% of brides get married as virgins, even though their marriages are only a third as likely to be dissolved within 5 years as non-virgins. Now, when it comes to living together, Americans who cohabited were 15% more likely to get a divorce, and the link is particularly strong for women who cohabited with a man other than the man who would go on to be their husband. Now, what about the age of marriage? People are getting married later and later. It's getting pushed into its 30s. Well, it turns out that that's not a good idea either. There was a large report on this done, and it found out that those who married in their early to mid-20s were much more likely to be happy and sexually satisfied compared to those who marry later, with the ideal age of marriage being somewhere between about 22 and 25. It almost seems like making a marriage to one person a priority and then practicing faithful commitment to that one person before marriage by faithfully waiting for them until marriage leads to happier and more faithful marriages. Who'd have thunk it?
I must tell you, I am shocked.
Okay, so that's pre-marriage. What about during marriage though? Are Christian marriages basically just a prison for unhappy women? Is it the case, as the Huffington Post wrote, that at its core, complementarian theology is one of inequality and hierarchy, and inequality breeds abuse? Is that the case? Well, once again guys, a little bit awkward here, and I'm sure that everybody who reads and contributes to the Huffington Post has very long and happy marriages, but the data unfortunately shows the opposite once again. So firstly, when it comes to the length and happiness of marriage, basic religiosity is important. I know we've been told for a long time that divorce rates are basically the same outside the church as inside the church. That's not true. Those who regularly attend religious services are 50% less likely to get a divorce. That makes a big difference. Furthermore, there was a massive study done on wives. I know they're an enigma, so this study is worth doing.
Wives.
They separated them from their husbands, only for the purposes of the interview, not for life, and they asked them questions about the state of their marriage. And according to wives, evangelical men made the best husbands. It turns out that these husbands are the most engaged with their children in terms of both play and discipline, they are the least likely to end in divorce, and they have, statistically, the lowest levels of partner abuse. Going back to our man Brad Wilcox again, he says the following. It turns out that the happiest of all wives in America are religious conservatives. Fully 73% of wives who hold conservative gender values and attend religious services regularly with their husbands have high quality marriages. So, Huffington Post, stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
I will not do this. I cannot. Oh, what a foul way for a bird to die.
You see, it turns out that the supposed conventional wisdom of our day is in fact unconventional idiocy. People throughout history knew that these ideas were the ones that worked and they built their marriages around them. Actual conventional wisdom says that religion is good, that sex should be kept for marriage, that male headship is a blessing, and that people should get married young as virgins with a view to one day having children together. And this all goes back to what we were made for. You see, if the evolutionary model is true, then the conventional wisdom of our day should work. It should make us happy. We should be wired to run around and sleep with pretty much anything, and that will bring us satisfaction and joy. But it doesn't. It leads to despair. Why is that? Well, it's because you were not designed by pitiless blind forces to run around and spread seed. God made a man, then he made a woman, and then he brought them together. That is the original design and purpose. One man, one woman, one marriage under God. And he creates laws to show us that this is what our very bodies are designed for. They were created for one other person. He doesn't do that because he doesn't understand us. He does it because he understands us better than we understand ourselves. He does it because he is for our lasting, true, and deep joy in marriage and in life. Thank you so much for watching. Also, thank you so much for your response to my recent videos. Some of them have just gone really well. I've been so encouraged by it. So thank you for all who have liked and shared and watched. I really do appreciate it. If you want to help this video get out there to the right people, please do like, retweet, share it whatever way you can, whatever platform you are on. You can support the channel as per usual through wearecontramundum.com. You can get some merch, or you can go to Patreon or PayPal and support us there. And finally, as always, if you are on YouTube, watch this next one.